You're watching Checkpoint. A lot of reactions already from the political class and Kenyans in general on this validated final BBI report. Tonight, I'd like us to speak to NAK Kenya party leader Martha Karua, joining us perhaps to just once again go through some of the fundamental issues in this report. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here on Checkpoint. Glad to have you. Reject BBI is a hashtag you've used the few times you have tweeted about this document since it was received by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Why?
Because it does not deserve support from Kenyans. One, the main reason why the two leaders sought to have constitutional amendments, they have stated repeatedly that they wanted to take away the winner takes it all position in our constitution, provide sort of a soft landing for the runner-up to the elections. Looking at BBI, the positions that are created for Prime Minister with two deputies are positions which will go to the majority party in Parliament. That means the President's party. So they are not at all to give a soft landing to the opposition. And what has come to the opposition via BBI is a mere change of name from leader of minority to leader of opposition.
They talk about
meaningless changes.
Yes, and the proponents of this, led by the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga, have talked about, what you say, that this will curb, for instance, electoral violence that is consistently witnessed in every election cycle we have in the country. The worst in 2007, you are right at the center of it all. So from your experience then, and a lot has been said about the 2007 and the politics therein, but having been at the center of the chaos, do you think some of the proposals on this particular report to curb that would be of value to this country?
Firstly, it's misleading for you to say I was at the center of the chaos. I was a cabinet minister. I had nothing to do with the chaos.
It was the swearing in that did bring in the chaos, did it not? But go ahead. Let me let you finish.
It was the swearing in, but swearing in by the Chief Justice,
okay,
a process that is normal in any elections. It is totally erroneous and actually a false premise to claim that it is the swearing in. The trigger of those chaos is grievances related to the elections.
So do this,
and anybody who genuinely wants to solve grievances related to elections, you would want to fix the electoral process so that whoever loses or wins, the public will have confidence that they have won or lost fairly. So the grievance is not about swearing, it's about feeling that people have been cheated during elections. And I think that it's got to be said, honestly, that since 2008, both the government and the opposition have repeatedly violated the electoral rules and codes. And that is why the Krieger report in 2008 revealed that both PNU and ODM had actually exaggerated the ballot.
Right.
So therefore, even the feeling of grievance were by people who had actively participated in violating, and that doesn't make it right for any side. So fixing the electoral justice is about fixing the process, not creating additional seats.
In fixing the process, we're seeing proposals on the IEBC. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and do you believe that this then will breathe a new life in our electoral systems in the country, or this is just hot air from the political class?
Not at all. I just want to remind those Kenyans and those who are proposing that in 1997, during the IPPG, Inter-Parties Parliamentary Group reforms, we agreed that the electoral commissioners would be shared between the opposition and the Kanu government then. And indeed, although it was not put in the constitution, they were shared during 1997. Yet, the Kanu government rigged the elections, the general elections, in 1997. If we are good students of history, we must remember and we must know that it is not about who sits at anniversary towers, it's about fixing the process. Sharing of commissioners as proposed by BBI, by the parliamentary political parties, will not solve issues of electoral justice. If we fully implement the Constitution, which dictates that there should be transparency, accountability, accuracy of records, and verifiability, if we implement Article 86 of the Constitution, then we can get electoral justice. But 10 years after the promulgation, we are yet to make our elections fair and transparent, accountable and verifiable as provided for in the Constitution. I would say, forget BBI, implement the Constitution.
Martha, you've served as a Member of Parliament for Gashugu as well as Minister then, and we seem to be bringing back the government into the House if these proposals are, sail through or are in favor with the Kenyans. This hybrid system that you have experienced before, and when we talk about the aspect of separation of powers, which is also another big and very contentious issue in our governance issues and politics, I don't know what your thoughts are on bringing back the hybrid system that this particular committee says Kenyans highly favored when they're talking to them.
I think we are again forgetting our history. Grievances arose, and Kenyans were aggrieved by an imperial presidency, which we are now returning via BBI, allowing the president to appoint ministers without parliament having to approve them. Only the prime minister under BBI gets approved by parliament. The other issue is about ministers coming from, some of the ministers coming from members of parliament. Kenyans lost faith in the parliamentary system where ministers are appointed from parliament and therefore wanted separation of powers. And that's why we adopted the presidential, pure presidential system with strict separation of powers. Returning ministers appointed from parliament means that you're sort of merging the executive and parliament to an institution that is already compromised by the executive. We have seen parliament being encroached upon by the executive to the extent even committee chairs have to be appointed by the president instead of parliamentarians sorting themselves out. An already compromised institution, more encroachment by the executive. As if that is not enough, the judicial independence is also being encroached upon. Just like the old Kanu days, when the independence of the judiciary had been removed from the constitution, they are now introducing an ombudsman appointed not by the judiciary, not by stakeholders, but by the president, that is by the executive, to sit in the JSC, where judges are appointed, where judges' welfare and even disciplinary matters are dealt with. Therefore, bringing back, through the back door, executive control of the judiciary.
Okay.
This is returning us to the dark days.
Okay, so we are not in line with what our history is like. That this debate is coming in barely 2 years to another general election and, you know, alignments and realignments in the political class. Do we expect objective debate, especially from our leaders in the political class on this, given the kind of interests that are there ahead of 2022? Do you expect to see that from you as well?
Luckily, the debate should be not only from political leaders, it should also be from Kenyans. And my call to the executive, and in particular to President Uhuru, he must let Kenyans enjoy their freedom of expression, their freedom of association without let or hindrance. There should be no double speak and no double standards when it comes to campaigns around BBI. Those like me who want to campaign no must be allowed, as the Constitution stipulates, to carry out their campaigns, just like the President has been carrying on his campaigns ahead of the launch. We expect that I should be able to go anywhere to do a Meet the People tour, which I don't need to notify anyone about. I should be able to hold rallies, and anybody else who wishes to explain to the people how useless I think BBI is. So, to the extent that we are told BBI is going to make contractors get paid in 60 days or 30 days, whatever it is. Issues that should be in the service charter of the respective ministries are now being elevated as though they are life-saving constitutional matters.
All right, we don't have too much time left.
We have to be very direct. Yeah.
We don't have too much time left. Is there anything you agree with in this particular document that, you know, you've sat down and thought, well, this would be good for Kenyans if it's implemented?
Let's say, for instance, giving the counties 35% of the revenue collected. But this does not need constitutional review. It just needs political will. The Constitution sets the lower ceiling as 15%. You don't have to amend the Constitution for counties to get 35%. And here again, I'm saying, when the Raila-led Okoa Kenya, which I supported, was proposing constitutional changes, I remember the president answering back and saying that the government is already giving 34% to counties. If this was true, then we don't need an amendment. The counties are already receiving, according to the Jubilee administration, 35%. Yeah.
All right, and finally, you have stated very clearly that you're going to campaign no for this particular document. Do we expect that you will be, you know, partnering on forming possible coalitions with those who are likely to campaign no, like the Deputy President? Are we likely to see work with other leaders for this no campaign?
There are so many Kenyans who are saying no. You just have to listen to people from the village to everywhere. And anybody saying no, I don't think there will be graded no's, just like anybody saying yes. And I want to say from the outset that NARC Kenya and myself were the very first political party to actually say no to BBI, especially the second round of BBI, when it was clear that it will not be an inclusive thing, when it was also clear that BBI is actually a breaking bridges initiative, which is introducing tension in the country and breeding serious intolerance. And Kenyans have witnessed this in the double standards, in allowing some rallies, disallowing others, and people being thrown out of meetings.
Right.
So yes, we will campaign no. It doesn't matter who else will be in the no camp.
Right. Way to end it. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable Martha Karua, NARC Kenya party leader, describing it as a breaking bridges initiative. What do you think? We'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd like to take a quick break. You're watching Checkpoint. We still have a lot more lunch.